Podcast. Checking 1, 2. How's your Victor Vector? Coach Ballgame here with we got the three amigos in town. I got Chopper, I've got the Flick Money Flicky, the three amigos. It's my two favorite people to talk coaching with. And we got a lot to catch up on. It's episode 79. Let's just go snaps for all our listeners. Happy New Year for all our patrons. Thanks for listening, supporting, throwing questions at us and topics that we can discuss. I've got some topics to discuss today, but first, let's start with Chopper. Highlights of the break, man. You had Christmas, New Year's. Any highlights?
Man, the family survived. We got whatever's going around. It went through the whole household, but lots of hydration. And we got through it. So that's, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we're doing well. Club ball's going strong. Boys are balling out. So that's fun. I don't ever care about our record or even wins and losses. I care about the process. But my assistant coach told me a couple days ago, he's like, Coach, we're 26-6 as a program. I'm like, dang, all right. That's I guess if you're keeping score, that's not terrible. Playing clean baseball, fundamentally sound, throwing strikes, catching the baseball, putting the ball in play, running the bases smart and aggressively. It's a joy to coach them. They're good kids. So we're just kind of fully engulfed in that, and just super thankful for a new year.
I love that topic. And Flicky joined me in Livermore, Northern California, just a few days ago, and we had a great coaches clinic. We did miss you, Chopper. We missed your beard, but we superimposed your beard in between us, so there was a beard salute for you. But Flicky talked about a little chicken and an egg thing. I'll let him explain it because it's too Stanford for me. I did go to Brown U, but not quite up to those standards of like what breeds winning. Does winning breed joy? Does joy breed winning? So an amazing coaching clinic there. Flick Money, how was your break? Highlights, brother.
Coach, I'm still in my break highlight. I'm living it right now. I just pulled off of Interstate 80 so that we could have this conversation. But I have been visiting my nearest and dearest, my best friend from childhood, my best college teammate, my best friend from my 20s when I was living down in Los Angeles. I hear we got a Jay Rondeau official landing in Los Angeles sighting has happened, which is a mutual friend of ours. So I've been tumbling over the falls of joy, reconnecting with people, reeling in the years, and I'm still there. I'm on a beeline for Washington State right now, and really excited to be in this conversation, Coach.
You're on the side of the road. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah, accurate.
Love it.
Yes.
Call box, right back, call box, calling in from a call box.
But if you're watching on the YouTube, again, it looks like he just hit a ground rule double at the Pluto, a baseball academy. Bang, and he's just outer space worthy. Flick Money drove 13 hours from Seattle down to the Bay Area. Livermore, California, just outside of Oakland. He drove 13 hours. A long story short, he just couldn't quite get the flights worked out in time. Ended up driving. But what happened to your flight that you would have been on if you would have booked a flight, Flick Money?
Yeah, unfortunately, Boeing's having some structural issues. A plane, the side of the fuselage blew out. A window panel blew out of one that had taken off from Portland. Would not have been my plane, but my flight would have been canceled because they canceled 60 flights immediately to check on the health of that particular model of plane. And what they're finding is quite scary. So I'm very grateful that I had a vehicle that was operable to get down here, and that we got to do the camp. It was 13 hours was well worth it when you're talking about creating joy with a bunch of young ball players.
My, oh my, yeah. That was a nutty story to hear. And then You driving most of the night, getting into the hotel room about midnight, getting a little nap in before a doubleheader in Livermore. But we'll get to that Sandlot in a few, because that was a big one, and we're going to go back there in August because that is the home of the 13-year-old Little League World Series. So the Williamsport,
Wow.
PA, that's the 12-year-old deal, 11 and 12s, but the 13-year-old 50-70 length, it's been there for the last 10 years. So we're gonna get up there in August, and we're gonna do a Sandlot before that tournament starts. That's the goal. That's the plan. But shout out to my boots on the ground, Fair Play McRae up there. The culture, once again, the culture that's being built in these little leagues that I go to, these towns. There's so many good people. I think that's one of the highlights of my break. Obviously, I'll get to my family portion of the break, but I went to a camp in Dallas, and then I went to a coaches clinic in Arlington. Coached a bunch of young coaches there in Arlington, and then up to Livermore. And I just keep being blown away by the curiosity that these coaches have, when the questions that they ask me of how can I become a better coach, or how can I even become a better father? Like, there's so many good people in all these different towns that all I can do is be optimistic about the future of the game. And Flicky, you saw it firsthand a couple days ago. Chopper, you saw it in Austin, how these coaches gather, and we just discuss how do we fix this toxic youth sports environment, this atmosphere. And I think we are. I really do. I think it's coming a long way. So that was a huge perk for me, starting the year off like that. But rewinding, we got to kind of chill Christmas week. Me, the three gals, Tara Jean, Avery, and Aubrey. There was some sickness that ran through them as well. So we got all of that stuff, Chopper. But we got to lay low. We got to hang. I think one of my favorite things to do right now is watch these girls dance. They're approaching dance competition season, and Avery is about to be 10. Aubrey is 6, and I can see it. I can sense it fleeting. A lot of dads talk about that. It moves fast and it's fleeting. So we really tried to slow it down. And I have found my new niche, and that is just watching my girls dance. They'll practice in the garage and practice all these different dance moves. And they really like when daddy's present. I think that's their love language, is me being very present and watching them. So I get to take a break from the baseball field and just watch, and it's fun. That if any dads out there in the dance world, it's a whole day, it's a whole weekend, and it's a lot of eyeliner and lipstick and outfits and changing into different dresses. And I was at dance practice last night, and all the moms were huddled up kind of talking about the different hair and the makeup. And I was like, man, a great skit would be, how about all the dads on the other side of the room talking about the exact same things? Like, what would that sound like? Of like, what kind of eyeliner are we going with, guys? And do we go double pony here? Are we going single? So it's a good community that we are in with that dance crew. So Happy New Year to all the listeners and everybody out there that I've met in 2023 or I'm going to meet in 2024. A lot of Coach Ballgame updates to get to, but I do want to start with this topic that Flikke, you brought up at the coaches clinic in the Bay Area about winning. That came up, and we the question posed was, what are the pros of going for the win? If your mind is on the win as a youth coach, what are the pros? And then, what are the cons? So, Flick Money, the floor is yours on this topic of what breeds what.
Yeah, we were talking about the chicken and egg conundrum, right? we talk a lot about investing in a process and joy, bringing kids back, having them want to come back to the park the next day because of the way you ran your practice as a coach, the way you planned it, the way you organized it, the way you celebrated each other, the culture you're building. And it's also true that if we go out with all of that and get our teeth kicked in and go 0-12, or 0-20 or whatever, the losing can start to wear on you in a way that can steal some of the joy even with the best culture. So we were just talking about, it's not an either or. The idea is a both and. And Chopper, I love that your squads are 26-6 at this stage of your winter league, because it's showing you that you truly can have it all. It might take time, depending on where a new coach might be at, just getting a new group, and it might be rec league ball, and so it might take time to get to the stage that you're talking about. But I don't think it should be an either or conversation. I think it has to be a both and so dialing in our practices so that, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and the skills that need to be taught, that need to be worked on. We have an honest evaluation of how we're doing and where our strengths are and where we need to get better. And we attack those places with really intentional drill work and skill work in our practices so that we can perform better. I think that's really important. And I think that, coach, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like that message landed well, because Livermore is the kind of area they are hosting the 13-year-old Little League World Series. That's not a tournament for participation trophies. That's a tournament for kids who go out and want to perform at the highest level under, stiff competition and with the lights on. So I think that message landed really well. And by acknowledging both sides, I think we were able to access those coaches in maybe a different way.
Yeah, when I pose that question to coaches, what are the pros of going for the win? You get a lot of good answers. You definitely do, building them up for success as they get older, and creating a close knit. Everybody's going down the same path. They're on the same boat, going in the same direction to try and get to a certain goal. There's a lot of wins. I think what we landed on was, if that's the only priority, if that's priority one, and we don't have a couple other important things like character and joy just above, focus on win, that's when we get into some negative, some yelling, some toxic, all of that stuff. Chopper, I mean, you're 26-6. What are your thoughts on does joy and creating a culture of character, does that breed winning, or vice versa, or is it somewhere in the middle?
I think it's all encompassing. I think absolutely joy, character, that's paramount. And that's the type of kids and families that you bring into your circle of influence. But for me, it's process. I mean, it is as simple as process. How fundamentally sound can we be? How much baseball knowledge can we learn? How many good quality instincts can we teach? How resilient can we be as individuals and as a group? And if you focus on those, like I said, I had no clue what our record was. When he told me it, I'm like, yeah, that feels about right. It feels like we're 3-1 at worst in these tournaments. And then oftentimes we've won like 5 tournaments in a row, which is crazy. But it's not because that's the goal. When I'm practicing, a good example is last night. I had an issue with one of our better athletes behind the plate, and he came up to back pick behind the guy at second, but the guy at second wasn't committed one way or the other. He was just looking at the catcher, and the second he threw behind, he took off to third. So a lot of coaches would yell and scream in that moment. But for me, it was like, hey, E, what would you do if you were the runner and the catcher didn't make you commit one way or the other, and then he tried to back pick you? As athletic as you are and your instincts, like, what would you do? He's like, I'd run to third. I'm like, yeah, dude. So like, don't let them do to you what you would do to them. Run at him at an angle, make him commit back to second, and then go to work with the rundown that we're elite at. So like, being mindful of every situation, you get to choose how you attack it as a coach. Am I going to make a kid feel bad about something, or can I build him up even while constructively criticizing him? All he heard was how awesome I think he is as an athlete. That's all he heard. And then I told him how to fix it. And then I reminded him that he's a savage. And that's, if your process is right, you're going to be dialed. But yeah, character and joy, critically important. Shoot, man, the first time I started a club, it took us 248 days to win our first tournament. That's almost 2/3 of a year. I'm not a math guy. But we still had a ton of fun. We had a ton of fun because it's not a math pod, but it was like, hey boys, trust the process. Let's keep going. And then it was so rewarding, and you finally, it all comes together and you get the right breaks and you win. So I think you got to have a little bit of all of it. If I had to pick one, I'm picking character and joy. It's just like Coach Flick said, you're going to lose some kids and some families potentially if they're not aligned with kind of what your priorities are. But I firmly believe if the process is sound, dude, like you're going to get pretty much whatever result you want. You're going to have high level character, high level joy, and you're going to win a lot of ball games. And then in that process, try to make sure you're loving on the other team as well. Like almost every play, if a catcher makes a good play on the opposing team, hey, great stop, catch. Shortstop makes a sick play in a big moment that costs us a run. Hey, great play, kid. That was awesome. That was clutch. Just coach them up, coach everyone up. And that's, and I'm not perfect, dude. I had to tell an umpire sorry over the weekend. So like, don't think for 1 second that just because we're talking from outer space, us and Coach Flick, like that we're perfect. We're not. We have emotions. And Bo Chop was up in a big spot. Every time he's up, it's a big spot. I'm his dad. And I just love me some Bo Chop. And 1-2 count, kid had a good breaking ball. There was a fastball up and in, and Bo like gets out of the way of it, getting ready to go into a 2-2 count. Good chance Bo's going to shoot a gap. And then God bless the umpire. He just rings them up on like, it wasn't close. Like, I mean, it was not close. So I'm coaching third, and I didn't need to say this, but I did say, hey, did you have that on the swing or the pitch? And Bo didn't swing. He went like this. He dove out of the way. So that's just an inappropriate comment by me. Right.
Hey, well, I mean, God, I'm the king of passive aggressive, and we still haven't come up with a passive aggressive salute. But
yes,
I would give you a passive aggressive salute in that moment. Maybe it's like one of these.
It's
no, not gonna go there because I'm Coach Chop and I'm Coach Ballgame and we have a podcast. Dude, we talked about that, Flicky, how the apology is powerful, right? We can't just be dropped down from outer space and be amazing coaches. We're humans. We talked about my journey and how Flicky helped me through my journey in my 20s. Same kind of thing. Like I would get passive aggressive, or my tone would be a little angry, and all of that it stems from insecurity. Like I don't know what I'm doing out here, so I feel like a failure as soon as my kid messes up, or if our team loses. So that those feelings of anger kind of come out, and it takes a long time to learn. So I love that you could be normal, have a natural reaction to your son getting rung up when it wasn't even close. But then, being able to apologize after the fact, that's so powerful, big time. I ran a camp called, Coach, what do you got? Bring it.
Sorry, buddy. This is a critical piece of this whole process.
Love it.
And your vulnerability right there. I want to shout you out. I don't know what to lose, but your vulnerability is a powerful teacher. There is a huge component of this. How do we define failure has a massive impact on our culture. And so this is where the winning piece comes in. Winning is a tangible proof of a job well done most of the time. However, if it's our only data point that we use to validate our process, then we're going to live in this kind of binary world of we were either successful or we weren't, which is when you're working with young people and you're developing humans and brothers and fathers and law enforcement people and teachers and coaches and public officials, we're developing these future leaders of our communities. It can't be that cannot be the only data point. Did we win or lose this game? Right. And so, and that's true of us as coaches as well. It can't be my only data point. Can't be that the kid does what I want them to do. Right. And that's what you were saying, Coach Ballgame. What you're talking about is that you hear this player is frustrating you or not doing what you want them to do. And you're saying to myself, I'm failing by not getting this kid to be respectful in the way that I want him to, or to participate at the level I wish that he would. And therefore, I feel like I'm failing as a coach. But if that's your only data point, then when kids, we know that they're on a really difficult journey to become a full adult. When they don't show up the way we want them to, then it's going to really impact us, the way we see ourselves, the way we talk to people. So redefining failure in both instances, for me as a coach, I think the failure would be if I give up on a kid. That's probably my truest definition of failure as a coach. And then we can talk about, like, within a practice plan, if it didn't go well, do I see that as a failure? If I set up a drill and I didn't explain it well, or it didn't go as well as I wanted, was that a failure? Or was that an opportunity for me to learn that either on the planning side or on the communication side, I need to get better at something? And therefore, was it really a failure? I'm learning along with my own players. And similarly for the players, within a game where they don't end up with more runs than the other team, there are successes to get that you even got there in the first place. And so can we acknowledge those and be a part of the process? So winning, yes, but it can't be our only data point, right? And similarly, having something go the way we want it to go, great, but it can't be our only data point. We need to widen the number of data points we use to evaluate success or failure. Yep.
I visualize, like, instead of just one bullet point, you've got this whole spreadsheet of different ways that you can win, or different ways you can overcome failing. That brought up something in my mind there, Flikke. We had a loyal listener who emailed me about, that's when he thinks of he's failing as well, as when he's just given up on a kid. And he feels like he should reach all 12 of those kids on his team and make each of them better humans. He's looking through the right lens, but there are definitely times when 10 kids are on this ship going in the same direction, but there's 2 that are not, for one reason or another. And he feels like sometimes he doesn't have the bandwidth to run the ship, captain that ship of 10, but then do what needs to happen with these 1 or 2 that, for one reason or another, maybe there's something going on at home, or the interest isn't there, the skill level isn't up to par. So let's start with Chopper on that topic. What's your answer to that guy? You got 10 on the ship, and you got 1 or 2. How do you reach them as well, Chopper?
Man, I haven't really experienced that a whole lot, to be honest with you, Coach. But how I would do it is I would really try to find a way to see what kind of motivates my 1 or 2 that aren't in. Like, okay, how can I kind of drive their passion to see if we can get it to be a collective? But and that would be my goal. And if that worked, dope. But if it doesn't, then maybe it's a conversation with the players of like, hey, dude, what do you like to do? I think we've touched on this in the past. But what are you passionate about? Like, when you wake up in the morning, if there were no limits to what you could do, and mom and dad said, hey, you name it, we're doing it, what would it be? And if could be a number of things. And whatever that is, that might be the conversation to have with the athlete and the parents of like, hey, dude, this kid really wants to be a rodeo guy. So get this dude a rope and let's go feed his passion. But I haven't experienced it a ton, but that's what I would recommend to a coach is listen, like ask the question and listen to what the kid has to say, not the parent. Listen to the kid and then have the conversation with the parent with love and respect of like, dude, like little Johnny may not tell you this, but like this is pulling teeth for him at baseball practice. He'd rather be at chess, and then let's get him in there.
Flick Money.
I was reminded, Coach, this weekend in Livermore, we had a young guy that didn't, we had the younger kids. We had 4 to 7-year-olds, 8 o'clock in the morning. It was 38 degrees. Right. They were still at the tail end of their break. So they had some sleep-in days, and they had a lot of comfort days and a lot of warm in the jam days all day long, the sweats. So it was a kind of a shock to the system. And we had a young guy, 6-year-old, did not want to be there. Mexico, he was not into it. And what I was reminded is that there's just not one tool. Mexico was someone who, if I came at him with a lot of positive energy, he had a gut reaction to that wave of energy, which was to turn away and to move away. he had the kind of personality that sometimes cats have, or certain types of kind of more even skittish dogs. I've noticed where I had to turn away and ignore him and be like, "Hey, would love to have you. We're gonna be over here doing this thing," and then let him kind of in circles. He would kind of get closer and closer, moment by moment. He kind of kept looping in until finally. Coach Ballgame, you were telling a story and you had the drum going and he got fired up. Once you got caught him with the drum, then he self-selected his way into what we were doing. But I just think he was the type of young person who a lot of adults maybe are trying to get him to do what they're hoping he'll do, and he has a reflex to that. But as soon as I stopped, and I just got engaged with what you were doing. I was listening to you. Next thing I know, here he is right in the pile with everybody, excited, clapping his hands to the drum. So all that just to say, I wish there were one tool to give someone. But to Coach Chop, and to what we're saying is each human being has to be met on their own terms, and it does require some creativity. This is the side of coaching that's an art. There's this part of coaching that's a science, and there's a part of coaching that's an art. And this is the art side of it, which is the human relationship, molding an actual trust and a sense of well-being with the young person. That's a creative process. And so I wouldn't say I wouldn't just like cut some loose and say good luck with no tools, but it's going to take some time to get those art tools together for sure.
Practically speaking, I mean, that if you wouldn't have driven 13 hours to be there and helped me out while I was running the ship of 20, and there's that one that's in the parking lot, Mexico might not have made it to the baseball field. He needed some sort of love. He needed somebody other than dad coming over, throwing him a baseball card, asking him a few questions, and just at least taking in where he was at. I mean, you were like a surgeon with that kid. I was able to run the rest of the camp, and at one point, you brought his dad out, and you guys played catch, you and his dad, and he's just there watching. And I know that was done, on purpose to just kind of, once you knew what he was responding to, go with that. If you're a coach, that's the goal. Can you have an assistant, maybe two assistants, where when you have to run a sandlot or a station, that you do have that one parent, that Miyagi, that therapist, that you can say, hey, we got a kid in the parking lot. He's crying, must have had a tough day. Can you go be that one-on-one? If you can have somebody like that, and we talked about this, Flikke and Livermore, maybe you go back and forth. Maybe one practice, Coach Johnny is running the whole practice, and then Coach Billy is there for the one-on-ones if need be, and you can switch off each practice. But I think if you create the expectations with your team early on, we are not going to wean anybody out. We are going to bring every different type of kid in, and hopefully they want to come back next year. Then I bet you get a couple parents raise their hands and say, you know what, I'm going to get off work a little bit early because I want to be there. I want these kids to, flourish and be good humans. So love that.
Yeah.
Either of you, anything to button up that awesome topic?
I was just going to add one thing, which is you can also, if you're by yourself, coaches, you can also utilize other players as leaders in that regard. Sometimes a kid responds better to a kid. They don't have to be super skilled in the area of counseling or therapy. Sometimes it's just if it's another young person who goes over there and says, hey, we'd love to have you. You want to come along, takes a piece of double bubble with them. Hey, here's a piece of gum. You want to come join us? We'd love to have you. I mean, be creative. It's we're assuming maybe you have two adults, but if you're by yourself, kids can be really powerful influencers with each other. Obviously, we know that. So, if you have a kid that's extroverted, he's got some social skills, and you can utilize him in that way as sort of like your ambassador for when kids are having a tough day, whether it's just a walk around the field or whatever, and you give him some shine for taking on that role so he's not losing out his practice time or whatever by being that. Maybe that's an opportunity to develop a leader and acknowledge some gifts in that area.
When I see a kid, and a lot of times it's one of the more more advanced and skilled players, and they're oozing with confidence. When I see one of those kids pay attention to the kids that aren't on his level, pay attention to the kids that are just starting out, or they don't feel confident, and then go over to them, man, it's one of the biggest buzzes I get on a baseball field, and I praise that loudly. It is a loud shout to the heavens, dude. We're giving you an attaboy. I'm giving you 3 baseball cards, and come on up here. Let's do a staring contest with Coach Flikke here. You have to become sensitive to that as coaches. When in a world where it's easy to be sensitive to the nuke or the bomb or the 98-mile-an-hour cutter, become sensitive to the human part of it as well. Chopper, anything for you before we shift to another great question here by one of my assistant coaches, actually. What do you got, Chopper?
No, I agree with what Coach Flick said. That is the art of coaching is how do you motivate? So many people know the message, but can you get the message to the audience? Can you know the audience, and can you get them to receive it in a way that helps them learn and love and fosters joy and curiosity and all that good stuff? So no, yeah. And I love the tool of using a player if you're by yourself. It's super powerful. Yeah. Peer pressure can be good and it can be bad. So try to see if you can use that positive peer pressure, as a tool. So yeah, I love it. Yeah. Well said.
But between the 3 of us on this pod and on the road, I don't know, thousands of coaches that we've had coaches clinics with, and thousands of hours that we've taught coaching, I can think of maybe 3% of all of that has been skill based. 97% of it in Livermore, in Arlington, where I just was, on this podcast, when we talk coaching, there's just a bulky, just everything's all about the psychology of it, and the actual skills of baseball. I mean, look at the numbers; they take a big time secondary. So that's just very eye opening, and I say that at all the coaches clinics. It's like we haven't even talked baseball yet, and we're 3 hours in. So that's how important it is to be human leaders. Make them a really great server of their community with their time. Coach Smiles, who has done a lot of my sandlots here in Orange County, he throws another one at us: how to balance instilling discipline within kids and not being too hard on them. It's a great question, and I've seen his journey. I've seen him as a young coach. As a young 17-year-old coach, I think a lot of times I see the only tool they have is the one I had when I was a rookie coach, which is yell louder than them, be louder than them, be more commanding than them. Let's start with Flick Money on this one. Where do you go to balance instilling discipline, but not getting too hard?
Coach, you say it beautifully. I praise loudly and I constructively criticize very quietly and personally. And that's even with skill adjustments. So let's say I've set up a throwing drill. We're working on a specific aspect of throwing. I'm wildly praising the group for their efforts. I can see you working. I can see you getting better. I love that you're getting better. And I've got one group that isn't taking it seriously, or their skill level isn't there yet, so it doesn't look quite right. So then I go over, and while the group is getting loud praise from Coach Flikke, the group that needs the extra help, the individual two that need the extra help, one-on-one conversation. Hey, let's look at where your foot placement is. Let's look where your glove is. That's right here. And then I'll right in the middle of that, you're doing an amazing job. You got 30 more seconds. So the whole squad. So it's the praise loudly, constructively, criticize quietly. And the other thing, Coach, that I always take from you, Coach Ballgame, is some of it's on me. I need to be mindful of where my group's attention span is, because I know that they will work hard and want to work hard, but depending on their age, is going to really determine how much can I expect them to do one drill or one single thing repetitively and stay locked in before it really becomes my issue of how long did I set this up for, and was that a good use of their time? So I look at it as a personal responsibility for trying to capture that wave, make sure that we do drills that we're catching their attention, and we stop when we're at the top of their attention, not waiting for it to sink down. That's on me, and then also the praise loudly and constructively, criticize quietly.
And I'll double up on you there. I noticed even when the whole group is dragging, or the whole group has some constructive criticism coming their way, you will still bring the whole group to the side, and that's some of the most quiet moments you have with the group. I think you even had that in Livermore on your field. Break that down. You brought them in. There was no yelling at the whole group because the whole group was going down. How did you break that down?
Yeah, you had given the great Roberto Clemente speech. We're playing a Roberto Clemente game. They had, we set a goal of 10 at bats per player within this game, which would be like a 3-game stretch for them. It was going really, really well, and they're young players. So what do you think happened by at bat 8, at bat 9, at bat 10? I watched 3 or 4 kids in a row not really go as hard as they could to first base. They take a turn around first, maybe they get a hit in the outfield, and it's kind of a nice, easy, the big leaguer at the end of his career turn, tip of the cap, not really pushing it. So I pulled him together and I told him the Joe DiMaggio story. When they asked Joe DiMaggio why, at the end of his career, when the Yankees are up 25 games in the standings, why is he still playing so hard in game 159 of the season? Shouldn't he give his legs and his body a rest? And he said, there might be someone there who's never seen me play, who paid for that ticket, who worked to earn the money to pay for that ticket. And I want to make sure that they see me playing as hard as they deserve to see someone play. And so I kind of gave him that speech, which was just, do not allow yourself to play below your own standard of excellence, of how good you can be, of how hard you can play. I did, give them a little preview of coming attractions of what coaches are going to be watching for, college coaches, scouts, eventually, if they get to make their dreams come true, and how they take a turnaround first. When it's an 8-run game in the 5th, is going to make they're going to be evaluated on that. So I gave them some straight talk, but we did it quietly. And then I fired them back up and out we went. And their last couple innings were great again. And it's just, they're 11, 12 years old. So they're going to need to be reminded probably 1,000 more times. But we keep working at it.
That was an elite group of players. A lot of them probably will have a chance to play high school or college, and those quiet moments when the coach can get quiet and say something very poignant and sometimes hard truth, but your tone, your body language, your volume, it's all super, super important. Chopper, you're balancing discipline without pushing them away or making them want to quit. How do you balance that?
That's a skill I learned from you, Coach Ballgame, where I used to attack the child. Attacks a harsh way to say it, but pay attention to the child that's doing something wrong and giving them that attention they want, whether good or bad. They just want attention. And what I learned from you is I learned from you is no, praise loudly with the one that's doing it right, and then watch what happens to the one that's maybe just doing their own thing, freelancing, if you will, for the firefighters that are listening. And then if that doesn't work, then, and I know Flick's talked about this, is just make him your assistant. Like, hey, come on, dude, you're going to come, you're going to be my VIP. You're my assistant coach. Like, here, take the megaphone, dude. Like, hey, what do you see? Like, and just give them ownership of kind of what's going on. And that usually works. If the first thing doesn't, giving them ownership works, and at least you're getting them kind of so where everyone else can do what they're there to do if they're passionate and they want to be there. But those are the tools that I used and use. And yeah, if you're going to say something good, say it, shout it from the mountaintops. And if you got something a little bit more serious, go ahead and say it. Now, if it's one of your athletes that's not acting like they normally do, it's an out of character experience for them to not be disciplined or not be focused or to be unruly. that's when you've had that relational equity where you can put your arm around and be like, dude, what's going on? Are you okay? Like, what's up? Like, what's going on? Because this isn't how you normally are. You're normally with us, and I don't feel like you're here right now. Are you okay? And then that may be a 10, 15-minute conversation where you're going to go have a conversation with one of the kids you love and care about, and just get to the root of why they're acting that way.
Relational equity. That could be the name of your book. I like that a lot.
Love that.
Bang.
Love that.
Also could be a great nickname or a fantasy football team name. Well,
Coach
mean,
relational. Hey, this is Coach Relational Equity. Get a whole group of 7-year-olds calling him that. That's awesome.
Yep. You're not saying it right.
Boy, did we have some good nicknames. I do want to say this. I coached a camp with Coach Rack, who's been on the pod, and literally, I mean, I was the oldest guy in the room by about 13 years. And I told Flikke this. It's like you show up one day and you're the oldest guy in the room. How did that happen? But a lot of 28, 29-year-old coaches, and I mean, I think within the 14 of them, there's like 1 billion followers. These are very popular on social media coaches, and they ran this camp called Not Your Average Baseball Camp. But here's what stood out. These 27, 28-year-olds, we all sit at a dinner table and they are so passionate about coaching. We talked for 3.5 hours about coaching kids, and their lens is character and joy. There were a lot of Savannah Banana players that were in attendance, and party animals. And the Savannah Bananas, they're growing. There's another team coming out, the Firefighters, and I think at some point there'll be a whole league where there's an opportunity for all the entertainers who didn't get their cup of coffee in the MLB can go play there and entertain. But the amount of attention and curiosity and engagement with this crew of 20-year-olds, like, I'm fired up. It fired me up. The baseball and youth sports are in great hands, and I'll just pat ourselves on the back. I think we've had something to do with that. Chopper, Flikke, and this is 79 episodes deep, and I get to just kind of jump in, and I kind of think of, I get to be the Flikke of the old camp, where you need me to wrangle 50 kids. You need me to introduce the next major leaguer that has come to be a special guest. You need me to tell a story. That's kind of what I do with the MLB as well. It's just my comfort zone. But hey, again, there wasn't it was 97%. How can we make this kid a better person and make him want to come back and fall in love with the game? And these are 10 to 14-year-olds who are probably all going to play high school ball. Very, very elite. But when they've got somebody they watch on their phone or their mom's phone, pouring in character and joy, instead of win or even become better at your skills, man, it was a beautiful thing. So that's a shout out to Rack and Coach Bougie and all those coaches. That was 3.5 hours around a table where it could have been 12 hours. I just love talking coaching with other people. So good job. That's all I have to say about that. Good job, you two, on that. I black salute. What else? You guys got anything? Any topics hitting you? Anything that's come up in the past few weeks or months? What do you got?
Well, I just wanted to acknowledge the work that you're of the young coaches in Arlington that you're talking about. I'm going to celebrate them. We did the double eye black. I'll give them character.
Yeah. And integrity.
Yeah. And the reason it's so important, what's at stake? What are they fighting for? We're really fighting for the soul of our game that we love. Baseball is an incredible teacher. It's so difficult. There's so much failure. The failures are so public within the context of the game. It's an incredible teacher. The soul of our game, we're wrestling for it, right? And I understand. We talked about that. I understand the win at all cost coach mentality. I played for a lot of those coaches. I appreciate Anyone who will get up and hit a kid 400 ground balls on a Saturday morning deserves to be saluted and praised. But there needs to be an expansion of that tool belt. It can't just be win at all costs, hit 1,000 ground balls, throw 1,000 pitches, and then scream at kids if it doesn't go the way you want. There's got to be, we can evolve it. And so I'm so excited to hear you talking about these young coaches, because what they're doing is they're evolving our profession. They're evolving the coaching profession. And really, hopefully, winning the wrestling match for the soul of the youth baseball game, so that we get kids who continue to want to play. It's not as fast paced as basketball and soccer or football, for that matter. It's not as prestigious anymore. It's kind of lost the top billing quite a while ago. And so many of the professional players are coming from other parts of the world, where, ironically, there's very few adults organizing youth leagues. The kids are playing outside by themselves all day long. I always said, why is skateboarding, why is that exploded in such a phenomenon? Well, have you ever gone to a skate park? There's not one adult yelling at a kid as to how to do an ollie or how to land the kickflip.
Same with
because we don't know how to do it.
Why are video games so big?
Because they're a video game.
You don't have a parent
no one's screaming at them.
B, push button B.
So I just appreciate the coaches that are out there bringing baseball into that fold, where the kids can truly experience joy and quality instruction, right? It doesn't have to be an either or. It's a both and. It's a win-win. So I just wanted to celebrate them. Thanks for evolving our profession.
That's the name of your book, Both And. It's a both and, because everything really is both and. Relational equity, both and I'll come up with something for mine. Sarah Jean had a good idea.
Yours is going to be, Coach. Yours is eyeliner on a Saturday. That's the name of the the biography.
I was gonna say maybe milk bath.
The life and times of Coach Ballgame. Milk bath is actually a great one too. I love that.
Oh, Chopper, what's on your mind?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna choose my words wisely, because I actually had a meeting yesterday, and the topic came up of a coach, a highly successful coach. In fact, won back-to-back state championships currently, but cusses at the kids all the time. It's a win at all cost situation. Doesn't work on a lot of fun. They don't get it right in game. He yells and screams at them. I've coached against this man for a couple of years. And it's just a complete difference in philosophy. So it is both and. You got to have both. And in fact, these administrators asked me, hey, would you want to come coach here? I'm like, man, I don't. Ton of respect for the current coach, but like, it's just we go about it differently. He's old school, and that's the term that I use for that. The guy that, you're right, you should commend someone who's willing to hit 400 ground balls, but that's not enough anymore. So the kids that are coming up that understand and they get it, that it's about winning the heart at all costs. And you not only can you do both, but you have to do both, because the old school, it's only sustainable when there's winning, but you're missing so many opportunities for the heart and the growth of the heart and the character of the player. Their identity is found in the win and the loss. And that's fleeting, dude. That's fleeting, and it's empty and it's hollow. So, that's what I was reminded of when you started talking about Coach Flick. I literally just had this conversation yesterday, and I do think that's the label. And it's like, dude, let's stop being old school. Like, be freaking new school. Coach new school.
And the new school's not participation trophy.
No.
And let kids just bat flip and celebrate and shove it in other teams' faces. That's not my new school. The not your average baseball camp with all these very popular 20-year-old coaches, we gave out 14 awards, and they were all character based. Maybe the most proud moment for me was they gave out 14 spotlight awards to the kids that made the best choices. For me, it was the kid that memorized the most nicknames. Like, he paid enough attention to the group of 50 kids that he knew everybody's nickname. So that was a big one for me. Other ones were just overcoming obstacles or failures. creating this respect and joyful culture within their small group of 6 players, leading by example, being the servant leader. Doc Roberts talked about that a lot, and he is that. That's a biggie. So, yeah, just my heart is full knowing that what I see, I could see that camp going to every continent and just blowing up. It's great to see that it's going in the right direction. So yeah, when somebody throws a mean comment my way, you're a joke. I've seen all your videos and your participation trophy 101. I have a moment of, ooh, should I go passive aggressive salute here? But ultimately, I have to go with the thought of they haven't seen me in action yet. They haven't seen kind of the culture that I've said of keeping score of everyone's character, and everyone's not going to get this spotlight award. So yeah, I just I step back from my computer or my phone and I just say no. I'm not going to do that one today. Man,
Yeah.
I
let me touch on that.
yeah,
Let me touch
bring
on
it.
a couple things. Same thing for our, we had our developmental league. We were giving away monthly awards, and we gave away 4 awards this last month. We finished our session, and it was character. It was, you just show up, good attitude, good effort, and treat people you want to be treated. And those were the ones that got the $10 In-N-Out gift card, and it's, you get what you recognize. So this next month, and everyone did a great job, but it's like, oh, that's what coach is looking for, show up, have a great attitude, give effort, and treat people like you want to be treated. But I do want to touch on this with trolls, coach, and you know this, but for our listeners out there, I had this conversation with Kenley Jansen, because Kenley was really getting beat up his last year in LA, and it was actually the second to last year. And we talked, and I'm like, dude, you're just giving the trolls power. Like, if you turn off the internet and you turn off the comment section, like, their power's gone. Like, they're only looking to tear down. So if you see that, you just dismiss that as no, they're the one that's hurting. And they're the one that's trying to elevate themselves and their emotion by trying to bring others down. So it's like, run from it, run as fast as you can from it. Don't give it any power. You're the one that's allowing it. And then Kenley had an incredible year that next year with the Dodgers. And he did, like, not because I said it, he's got mental skills coaches and therapists, and they recommended it too. So he did that, and he stopped looking at the comments. And then he got back to kind of the old version of himself. But let's not give the negativity power. It's within our power to be like, nah, dude, you're mixed up. You don't know me. You don't know me, son.
I get to talk about bullying when I tell the Jim Abbott story, because he was bullied as a kid, but he was wise enough, mature enough to realize, oh, that kid's hurting. That kid that is coming from a place of lonely and hurt and trauma, and I don't have to give it any power. And I can share that with these kids, and a lot of elite players that we coached in Livermore and in Arlington. Very tempting to see the kid that's a little new or hasn't hit the growth spurt yet, hadn't hit puberty, and throw them some shade, as the kids say. And that's just so important for that population to hear. What makes a bully. I was able to talk about the kid that was in my culture, grew up in my culture for 5-6 years, came to all my camps and sandlots, graduated out of that, was good enough to play on a travel ball team, and he's immediately getting bullied by the best player on the team. He comes home crying, emails me, and I say, here's what you do, kid. Tomorrow, every time a teammate makes a mistake, be a servant leader. Go over and fist bump him, tie his shoe, let him know you failed yesterday. It's part of growth. By the end of that practice, who was giving out fist bumps and tying other people's shoe? It was that bully. That bully was just lonely. That bully wanted to jump onto something, and character was able to galvanize the whole group in a way to where even that bully jumped in and said, well, I guess this is what's popular. Let's do this. So as coaches, make that popular, make good choices popular. and be sensitive. Be sensitive with your ears and your eyes to those moments of bullying, instead of seeing the third baseman throw a rocket over to first base and the first baseman get handcuffed because they don't have the skills. Instead of laughing at that first baseman or throwing them in right field, let's see how many kids give that first baseman a fist bump and say, hey, try and get the next one. Really go that route. So I love being able to talk about bullying. And I have a speaking engagement at a middle school Thursday, and I'm going to go right there with that Jim Abbott story, because I think if you can quietly, not angrily, but quietly talk about that subject of bullying with young teenagers and just discuss the why does that happen, I think it really reaches a lot of folks. Like Money, anything
Well, no
you
doubt.
got there?
I was going to say this brings it full circle. So what is going to influence winning? What are the things culture-wise that influence a team performing well on game day? We can take the win is tangible proof of a job well done most of the time, but what's going to influence that from the culture? And I used to explain it this way to kids: basic math. If you're the only one concerned with how you're playing, that's one. But if every person on the team makes it their mission to lift up every other player on the team, to support their excellence, to push them to their highest level of performance, to challenge them to their best level of effort, to really, if ever all of us focus on the other people, then how many people are focused on you? If we got 13 guys on our team, that's 12 people who are focused on you getting better, versus if you only think yourself, that's one. What do you think mathematically is going to push us to a better level as a team? That's going to be that others focus. So at practice, we're getting other people better. They're going to be doing it to you. So there's a trust that gets built. There's a camaraderie that gets built, and we're going to play better. Bottom line is we're going to play better. So what you're doing, we're not giving out participation trophies. We are teaching a very specific social emotional skill set of internal resilience and support of other humans that is going to benefit the whole team. We're going to play better. We're going to perform better, especially in big moments when things are tough. So I see it as a both and win-win, the way that we're doing it. And so, just wanted to piggyback on that, Coach, and thank you for standing in there. The all-time hit by pitch leader at Brown University. You're taking those fastballs. You're taking those fastballs up right up here in the upper meat for all of us in the online troll world too. Which I appreciate you, man. You're getting on base for us, and Coach Chopper and I got you. We're going to bring you around.
We're going to drive you in. The limo drivers driving in runs.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. Oh, well, I think the name of this pod will be "What Breeds Winning." I think that's a good title, and I'm good. I'm good on today. Do you guys have anything else to close up shop?
Have a great week, boys. Appreciate you.
Money.
Rake. Don't forget to rake.
Onto the side of the road.
Yeah.
Drive safe. A safe driver
Money.
salute there. 10 and 2 as you head back, and I will be. I am diligently. I'm already reaching out to all 180 different boots on the ground, all the different towns, different people that have reached out about bringing what we brought to Austin, bring it to their town. So we're going to narrow that down to about 40. We will prioritize towns where the Little League sees this as a coach's clinic more than anything, and they can help sponsor it so the price can be lower for each family. And let's get hundreds and hundreds of kids to come out, and dozens and dozens of coaches, because that's the point. These coaches that come out to these things, they're going to coach hundreds of kids that me, Chopper, Flikke will never meet, but you will. So I'm excited for 2024 as I diligently go through this list and get it going. For as far as digital courses go, Mrs. Ballgame and her best friend, we call her Coach Queso, they are helping me dial in this beginner playbook of how to that newcomer, that electrician, that doctor that has been asked to volunteer their time to coach 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds. We've got this digital course that's going to launch in a couple of months. So we're getting excited for that. I'm on the computer daily writing down practice plans and Google slides and getting it going. But things I've learned from both of you. I just got a text from Mrs. Ballgame. Talk about the online course. So bang. How about that, Mrs. Ballgame? Got it. But she's worked so hard at taking a course. So yeah, Rapunzel salute for her. Atta girl, Mrs. Ballgame. So we'll get all the information out on my socials. Next week I'm in Florida. So I have sandlots in Lakeland, Palmetto, and Eagle Lake. After my MLK Day sandlot right here in Orange County next Monday, I'll fly red eye over to Florida and hit Florida sandlots. But yeah, this is going to be a big year, boys. So get your frequent flyer numbers ready because I want to get both of you to all 40. That's the goal. And then it just adds so much value, when we've got an army out there just making a difference. So thank you, boys.
The Three Amigos tour.
The Three Amigos tour. Let's go. Oh man.
Appreciate you guys.
I love you, boys.
Love you, boys. Love you too, boys.
And lastly, our next guest in 2 weeks, Jeff Francoeur, who has broadcasted the Braves forever. But go listen to some of his podcasts. He's got a podcast called The Pure Athlete, and it's all about the same things. It's preaching to the choir. How do we make coaching better? How do we empower these young coaches? And he's got, Dabo Sweeney and Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, great guests. Woo! They're all so passionate about this same message. So in 2 weeks, very excited to talk with him. He's on a mission to change youth sports as well. Bang.
Bang.